Mark, what did you notice just about kind of the compounding nature of what happened out there in the third quarter and the way you guys were able to roll things up possession after possession?
Well, we talked at halftime. We thought we played the first half kind of on their terms in the game. The game was at their tempo. They were the more physical team on both ends of the floor. We didn't play with great force on offense. They beat us to balls. And the game was in their rhythm. And what changed in the third was the defensive pressure. I mean, we obviously were able to get pace in the game, but the last two games, the reason we've had pace is because of the way we've defended. And it was top to bottom. I mean, everybody that touched the floor in that quarter, and 9 guys I think played, really brought the juice. And I just thought great course correction by the team in game to kind of recognize game's not going the way we want. We don't want to be talking about it tomorrow at practice. We want to be talking about it in the game and get it on the road, and I thought we did a great job of that.
You just continue to have these moments of passing where the extra pass comes up the sideline, or the lob goes into J-Dub, he kicks it right back out to Shea, Hart to Wiggins on the back door. Are you seeing these moments of connection between the team just grow more and more as the season's gone along?
Yeah, and I think there's some fundamental things that the guys have done a great job of committing to that are allowing that to happen. Ball movement's not just like the intent to move the ball. You have to have outlets. You have to have open people. The reads have to be clean in order to try to create that kind of rhythm. And so there's parts to the offense that stack up to that the guys have been committed to and that we've worked hard at to try to improve. And I thought that showed up on a lot of possessions the last 2 or 3 games.
Mark, what do you see from Shea specifically in that third quarter and maybe what he did to the offense?
I just thought collectively we did a great job of just being on the gas, feeding off of our defensive pressure. I mean, the third quarter was a defensive quarter. I just want to be perfectly clear on that. What changed in that quarter was the pressure 1 through 5 on the ball, the will and the energy. Our output on that end of the floor was the catalyst in that quarter, and then that allowed us to get the game going faster, share the ball, play with aggression. Shea did that, but everybody that went in the game did that.
And just on a similar note, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but Shea was in here about a month ago saying that, after the Dallas series, he reflected and he wanted to put his teammates in better position for the postseason. In season, with the way he played, the way he moved, have you seen that as of late?
I'm never with him. All of his improvement has been gradual, consistent, and compounding in nature. So it's never like an epiphany moment. He just grows consistently in every part of his game and his life. And what you're referring to is leadership. And he's grown as a leader consistently over time. He's used all of his experiences to do that. But he's been on that path for a long time. This wasn't like the first time he's thought about it. From the first time that we traded those guys and he kind of had the ball for the first time in his career, he's had to grow into that role, and he continues to do that just like in every other part of his game. One of his best qualities is his humility to look in the mirror and constantly look to improve. He never sits on his successes. He always wants to get better.
13th game this season, forcing 20 or more turnovers. You had 20 last year. You guys are on pace to pass every defensive mark from last year's good defensive team. A lot of people would, on paper, attribute that before the season to the additions of Ihart and Caruso, but you missed Ihart and Caruso and Chet for huge chunks of this season. What would you attribute the improvement on defensive end to this year?
The commitment of the player. At the end of the day, there's invisible things that don't get a lot of love or attention that if you want team success and you want to win, you commit to those things. And we've got guys that are committed to that. Everybody that plays is committed to that. And it's not perfect all the time. And we're not in a constant state of that. In the first half, we weren't at our best on either end of the floor. But we have such guys that, they'll look in the mirror at halftime of that game and say, okay, we don't want the game to go this way. And then they put the energy in and the effort in. They do it together. And it's really just that simple. There's no magic potion for it.
I forgot what exactly you called the line when you were talking about the Rockets earlier this season, that they never dip below that line, whatever you called it. You guys also are a similar team that when you guys get below that line, it's not for too long on the defensive end. What would you attribute that to?
The commitment of the guys. They're committed to the invisible things that help the team win. Ball pressure doesn't get you a lot of attention, and so many of those things on that end of the floor are subtle, and you only are committed to them if you're committed to the team and you're committed to team success, and we have a group of guys that are committed to that, and as a result of that, there's a contagiousness around that. They feed off of each other. I thought that's what happened in the third. There was a little bit of a spark, and then, it turned into a fire for us.
You mentioned leadership earlier with Shea. There were some points in the game in the third quarter where Conley makes those 2 threes. He banks in the second one where things could really unravel for a team. How much of this team do you think is just helped by Shea's sort of cool, calm, and collected just sort of demeanor? Because it seems like he doesn't get rattled sort of either way, good or bad.
We always talk about the leader's the person doing the right thing. Absolutely great poise, great internal confidence. There's a contagiousness to both of those things in the team. But Cason Wallace is a second-year player, and the look on his face and the way he competes, you'll never know the score of a game. He's the same guy. Dort is the same guy. Cameron Williams goes in the game, same guy. Isaiah Joe was, outscored. We outscored them by 20 points, I think, tonight in 12 minutes, and he will not bat an eye at that. He's the same guy, and that's top to bottom. And so it's not. I understand. Shea is a great player, and I think Shea's a great player, and I think he's going to be a great leader. I think he's growing into a great leader. But the leader's the person doing the right thing. That comes top to bottom on the roster, and that has a compounding effect. It has a contagious effect. That's where we want the leadership to come from.
You got some steals, and I think a lot of people, they talk about Jalen Williams-Dove, that when Shea goes to the bench, he takes over the offense, but he had some steals tonight that really kind of, I guess, slowed their momentum up. Cason Wallace, I remember when I first asked you about him now 2 years ago, you said Ed Reed.
Yeah.
And he kind of has he gets in guys' shirts and just takes the ball. I mean, talk about just the mental toughness and just the fact those guys can get in there. It's not always about scoring. It's just what has to be done to protect the lead or to take a lead.
Yeah, they love to compete. When they start to sense, Cason had one night, ball pressure in Conley. Dub had the one on Randall tonight where, it got deflected, and that was a 4-effort play. I think they love to compete, and they get energy from that. And like I said, it has a contagious effect inside the team. They all relate to that when they see it, and it gives the team energy. And I thought the third quarter tonight was a great example of that.
What did you make of Cason's game, just in general, the way he impacted both ends?
It was the air ball was my fault. He made that clear in the game. I'd like to take responsibility for that publicly. And otherwise, he was awesome. That one was on me. But yeah, he was big time. And just the ability to have Lou on Edwards, which most teams are going to put their main guy on Edwards. To have a guy of his quality to guard Conley, to pressure the ball with DiVincenzo, is a huge luxury for us. And offensively, he's growing and growing and growing. He's still a second-year player. He's got a long way to go. He's got a lot of growth in front of him. But yeah, he's an impressive player.
The sample size with Kenrich is getting a little bit larger now that he's back. What has it been like to have him back? It seems like he's playing some good basketball, and tonight really going small changed the game a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I think. He's playing with a lot of bite right now, and he plays system basketball on both ends of the floor. So when he's out there, everything else runs well. He enhances his teammates with the way that he plays, and he enhances the overall identity of the team on both ends, and that's what he's bringing. And it's a weapon that we can go to. In games, to put him at the 5 and space people out and bring some defensive energy. So he's done a great job.
Mark, we've talked about Dub's steal average being up in the past. Obviously, we're a good chunk of games in now to where we can really talk about it. I guess I just wonder what's different about the way he attacks the ball from last season, if anything.
The steal, I don't know. The steals are not an end game for us, and the turnovers really are. I always say that, and I swear to God that's true. It's really it's fundamentals. It's awareness of when to be physical and when not to be physical. I thought we did a great job improving on our Indiana game. We had 4 fouls in the fourth quarter within 7 minutes to go, where they were just like a lack of discipline. We're just marching those guys to the line. And we did a great job with our discipline tonight. You know, we made those guys make tough shots and contest them without sacrificing physicality. And it's really just that. You know, it's very basic fundamentals. It's not complicated.
And obviously, like we've been talking about for a few weeks, his sort of conversations with officials, that sort of back and forth, that hasn't ended. I guess what have you made of the way he sort of responded after those exchanges in game?
Great. You know, he's like I've said before, he's a growing player. He's third-year player. You know, he's not a finished product. He's a great player and is an impactful player, but he's not a finished product. And the free throw differential early in the season was a big problem for us, you know, in terms of understanding how we could really be the best team we can be. And we're not just going to sit around and blame the officials for that. We've really worked hard to try to improve our defensive fundamentals and not put the officials in a position where they have to blow the whistle on some plays. And we're going to be unrelenting about driving the ball to the basket and attacking the basket and putting pressure on the officials to blow the whistle on the other end. And I thought both of those things showed up tonight. You know, we controlled the free throw differential tonight, which is all we can control.
Anyone else?
Yep, thanks.
Okay.